Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Connecting Dots podcast. I'm the usual face here, and today we're joined by Gabija Jonsson, all the way from Stockholm, Sweden. She's been working in the position of lead of corporate communications for a bunch of multinational companies throughout her career, and we're definitely very excited and thankful for her presence today with us. So, with that, let's get started. Gabia, how had your day been so far?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Really exciting. My day has been quite hectic. It's already almost 8 p.m. here. I'm going to
Uh-huh.
one very big broadcasting show next week in Amsterdam, so it's been busy, busy.
Exciting, exciting, nice.
Yes.
So with that, let's get started, Gabia. Please share a brief elevator pitch about the various positions that you've served throughout your career, and how had your career progression been overall?
Yeah, so I'm originally Lithuanian. I was born in a very small town, and thanks to my teachers, they discovered early on that I have skills and talent within communications,
Mm-hmm.
writing, oral speaking. And
Mm-hmm.
then I joined like a journalism club, and then later on, I studied political science, international
Mm-hmm.
relations. I
Mm-hmm.
really fell in love with the whole international way of living.
Okay.
I moved to Sweden 6 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and then I started working for quite big, large corporations, as you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
working within marketing comms. And these were different companies, different
Mm-hmm.
industries, finance, technological industries. So, though I've
Mm-hmm.
always been marketing comms person, the industry
Uh-huh.
itself would be really demanding, so to say, for me to learn as well various technical skills and gain knowledge within
Right.
the fields. Yeah.
Interesting. So if we were to specifically talk about the position of corporate communications, so what is like to be in the shoes of a lead or a head of communications at a big multinational?
It is a really demanding job because first of one needs to know very well what the company is doing because one
Right.
is a spokesperson for the company, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one cannot make any errors or any mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter if it's just an email or if it's like a press release, of
Mm-hmm.
course, there are various agencies supporting, but overall, I think what people often might think that is quite an easy job, but it is challenging. There are various stakeholders, C-suite executives. One needs to think also about the audience. What is the message? How to transfer the message in the best way? How to simplify the message, especially when working in tech world, like research and
Right.
development. They
Yeah.
do amazing things and they
Mm-hmm.
know all the nitty gritty details. But we
Mm-hmm.
need to translate in a very simple way that the audience would understand. I
Right.
do. I really do love my job. I could not imagine doing anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Also, maybe what is worth mentioning that there are always lots of deadlines because it
Mm-hmm.
might be events or like written press releases or social media posts or if
Mm-hmm.
it's like crisis communication. So everything happens really fast.
Right. Interesting. So other than that, how would you say that what really kept you going in the position? Like, what's your source of motivation?
I think the people, I am a really people person. I was
Mm-hmm.
never an introvert hiding in the corner. So I really
Yeah.
love that thanks to my job, I am always there. Everyone always knows me. So I always connect with so many different people in different
Mm-hmm.
countries with different positions, though I am
Mm-hmm.
always working with like really high level executives, but also, for
Right.
example, I work with many creative agencies, so
Mm-hmm.
it's really inspiring, I think. And also, I think what is really great with this job that it's really easy to see your work result. It's right there.
Mm-hmm.
You write something, it's right there. You work on some big event, it's there. You can track social media or writing material with various tools. You can track events
Mm-hmm.
with how many people visited. Do they visit our website afterwards?
Right.
So I
Yeah.
think this short-term results, that's also
Mm-hmm.
something which I really like.
Interesting. And the fact that you mentioned that this position gets to have a lot of interaction with C-suite level people. So, in your opinion, let's say if somebody were to be working in a project which has visibility to C-suite level people, what would be the best way to perform in such a group? Because I mean, the one thing that I can think of right off the bat is that it would be definitely time sensitive. There were to be updates disseminated every now and then. So what should one bring to the table, when working with these kind of executives?
Yes, I mean, you're right. They do not have much time, so really the information needs to be very clear. And I think the best way is maybe to prepare different scenarios,
Mm-hmm.
that they could just, maybe proofread and sign off.
Right.
And not to, not to expect that they will be now sitting with you and guiding. It's more
Yeah.
like, here are the proposals, which one should we go for? And I think it's also important to always think ahead, what happens
Mm-hmm.
once we communicate, to always even prepare before.
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mm.
So other than that, I would say that when we're creating a certain product, doesn't matter what company it is. First of all, we need a certain degree of engineering craftsmanship so that the product delivers on the promise. But then comes the branding and marketing part, so that we need to market it properly. We need to create awareness about it. So, in your opinion, what is the right balance between these two domains?
Well, I mean, branding and marketing is crucial, right? Because it can be a fantastic product, but if we do
Yeah.
not manage to convince the audience, how will it solve their problems? How will it help in their daily life? Then
Yeah.
this product might, not
Mm-hmm.
get any reach. So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's hard to think of a balance because it depends if we talk about, is it, business to business communication or business to consumer? Because if it's business to
Mm-hmm.
consumer, then it's a bit different way.
Mm-hmm.
If it's business to business, then it's more like large scope, big projects, maybe even like
Yeah.
government needs to be involved because it's some kind of technical solution. But I
Right.
think, engineers should focus on their research and development. Marketing comms
Yeah.
people should focus, on their side, and
Mm-hmm.
we shouldn't expect from any of those to kind of, mm, deliver more than they can, so to say.
Other than that, Gabby, I want to ask you about your professional experience in general. So you've been working in different countries in Europe. So how has it really helped in your professional, I would say, upskilling?
Yes, I have lived in a number of countries and I studied in different countries as well. I think it helps to be more, tolerant towards people,
Mm-hmm.
because these cultural things, they really play a big part. And of course, as
Yeah.
managers, we get a lot of, trainings about how to work, with diversity, like etc.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I think once one has lived in many different countries, one is more
Mm-hmm.
understandable of, like, oh, in Sweden, for example, yes, we have long summer break, for example,
Yeah.
in July everything stops, everyone disappears. People in other
Mm.
countries, they don't understand that,
Yeah.
they are maybe like, how is this possible, how
Yeah.
does it
Yeah.
function? But I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, well, this is how it works in Sweden, in another
Yeah.
country it's like different, but we have to
Yeah.
understand, we can't really push people because they are on holiday, so you can't
Yeah.
expect that they will respond.
Yeah.
um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
So other than that, do you have any cool traditions at work?
Well, I think for almost 2 years now, I worked mainly from home because I have two small children. So working from
Mm-hmm.
home is really a blessing for me.
Yeah.
But I think, as you said, I worked in different companies. Now I started in another company a month ago. So now next week I will see many of my colleagues for the first time. So then maybe
Yeah.
we will start some new
Yeah.
traditions. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Congratulations for that. So that reminds me of another thing, and I would rather connect it to this question that I saw your LinkedIn, and honestly, it's nothing but amazing. And I've seen that you've accumulated a bunch of accolades with your previous employer. So do you want to share a bit about that?
Yes, I mean, I have received a few awards.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm really passionate about is sustainability. So
Mm-hmm.
in every company I work, I really try to push this narrative. So I have received an award for, great communications about sustainable achievements of the company.
Mm-hmm.
I also got an award for being like kind of, it's like a kind of like team spirit, so to
Mm-hmm.
say. So I think it's very nice to be acknowledged. I think for every human being, we know how important it is, especially when working in this remote, mode when we
Yeah.
don't see our
Yeah.
colleagues. So I think all companies should do that. It doesn't have to be a monetary award. It's just very important to praise people in team meetings. Write like thank you emails. It's never too much.
Right. No, interesting, interesting. So after you formally started in the role of corporate communications, do you think there were any myths that got busted for you?
Yes, I mean, I was thinking about that, and I think since I've worked in this industry now for more than 10 years, it's hard for me, maybe to think of that. But one thing for sure maybe is that I would have not imagined how much multitasking there is, and that how all the people will want your attention because everyone wants to communicate something and they always
Yeah.
think theirs is very important and everything needs to happen now. So there's
Hmm.
a lot of diplomacy. So it's good I
Yeah.
studied
Yeah.
political science. So that I think
Yeah.
really helps to kind of just breathe and speak with people that we can't communicate everything. There needs to be a clear goal. We need to
Hmm.
have a clear audience, and what do we
Yeah.
want to achieve with this. So once I
Hmm.
ask all these questions, then people kind of like, oh wow, really? So it's not that easy. So
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
yeah, maybe that.
So, other than that, what do you think, in your opinion, would be the best way to upskill for this position? I would say.
At the moment, I'm actually taking a course about crisis communication, so I never stop learning. Though it's funny, maybe to be in a course learning theory when that's what I do practically in my work.
Yeah.
But I think, communications is just such a broad field and there's so much to it. For example, even like digital marketing, that's also part of
Hmm.
communications, all the
Yeah.
tools and social media. So I think I really like going to various like networking events. I'm part of
Hmm.
various women in communications groups, for example. So I think
Hmm.
learning from other industries, hearing how startups work because they work in such a different way than us more uh, kind of
Hmm.
old school tech companies, right? So
Yeah.
I think one really has to be there. It's a job that changes every year. I mean, actually, so one cannot think in a way
Hmm.
how it was done 10 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. So now, if you were to talk specifically about your academic journey, how do you think your formal education has helped you in being the professional that you are today?
Yes. Well, I actually planned to study journalism and I took journalism courses, but then I was convinced by more senior adults to study something
Yeah.
broader
Uh-huh.
and then specialize afterwards. So I think I studied 6 years. My bachelor was 4 years and my master was 2 years. In other
Hmm.
countries, they get bachelors, for example, in 3 years. So they work already after
Yeah.
3 years, right? So maybe for some
Yeah.
it might be surprising. I studied even for 6 years. I think the
Yeah.
best thing with academic studies is, first of all, at least in my case, I needed to read so much and to write so much, so I
Mm-hmm.
really learned how to comprehend information really quickly, I really learned how to find the resources needed very quickly.
Uh-huh.
I think another great aspect
Mm-hmm.
is, respect for professors, for example, learning
Yeah.
to respect the experts in the field.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the network, that's fantastic, to follow the journey of your course mates, to see your professors on TV commenting on something, the chance to study in different countries. I think it's very important, exchange studies or internship possibilities, which one maybe would not get if one wouldn't be alumni of a specific university.
Right, makes sense. So connecting or taking this question a little further, in your opinion, for the people who are in the early phase of their careers, what are some of the productive habits that they should start incorporating in their lives?
I think it's really good to find a mentor. Nowadays, I think it's really great. We have platforms like LinkedIn, for example. So
Mm-hmm.
one shouldn't be afraid to write to various, people and say, hey, here I am this, maybe, you need an intern or something. And I
Yeah,
think also, of course, I think nowadays it's harder for students. Now there is like social media and internet. Back
yeah,
in my days, we didn't have all these things, so we were just like
yeah,
studying in the library.
right.
But I think it is important early on in your career to understand what you really want to do and
Mm-hmm.
then follow this path. Because I think if one studies different subjects and then starts maybe earlier than later, of course one can follow this career,
Mm-hmm.
but with years of experience in a certain field one can become an expert earlier. So that I think is very beneficial in
Right.
any job. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Gabi, other than that, talking about core values, what are some of the core values that you uphold in your life?
I think integrity, honesty. I am very, so to say, punctual and reliable, maybe to a bit of extreme level. Maybe it's a bit from my culture. Like if I have to
Yeah,
commit to something, I will work no
yeah.
matter late hours, whatever. I will
Mhm.
not be like, well, I didn't feel well, so sorry for. No,
Yeah, I
I will
mean,
work.
nonetheless, these are, I mean, good traits that sometimes we have to practice to learn, but it's
Yeah.
good that you have them then. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
so I think I'm always working. I'm always studying something. I think work is my biggest passion. So for me, it's how to say, it's
Mm-hmm.
not something I have to force.
Yeah.
But I think that is really also appreciated because I've
Mm-hmm.
been very fortunate with my career when I moved to Sweden. It's been a fantastic journey, always just
Mm-hmm.
going higher and higher, despite, I've been on maternity leave twice. So I
Yeah.
think you can't really fake it. The manager see it, and the employees, the colleagues, they see it if you are a person that they can trust.
Right. So now, Gabby, connecting to you as a human being, other than the job titles, how had your transition to motherhood been for you? I mean, you've been working for so long in your career, and you'd been working in high impact positions. So how was that transition for you in your life?
It's been a really huge change. I wouldn't have expected what a big change it is. And again, something I learned living in Sweden that, for example, in Lithuania also we have a great maternity leave. You can go for a few years, and in Sweden as
Mm-hmm.
well. And I learned that in
Yeah.
other countries, women do not have this, so they have to choose
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, kids and career. And I think one thing which comes is like this mother's guilt. So you always feel that, wow, maybe I shouldn't do
Mm-hmm.
this. I have to,
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
to spend more time with the children. But one thing I know I've learned, and I have spoken with many senior females who are mothers, that we are we become even more effective, because I know I have to pick up my children 5 o'clock from preschool.
Yeah.
So all
Yeah.
day I'm just working nonstop, so there's no
Yeah.
time to kind of,
Yeah.
so
So,
yeah.
in your opinion, Gabby, how are the modern day companies helping or bringing new initiatives to empower new or young mothers? I would say.
Well, again, I think I've been really fortunate because I have only experienced fantastic support from all my
Nice.
very senior colleagues I have worked with, as I said, C-suite executives in
Mm-hmm.
multinational companies, right? And they would understand that, like, oh, I have children at home, so I can't, because
Yeah.
again, something which comes with a global role, that sometimes I have meetings like now with you in Canada, so I would have meetings with
Yeah.
states, which are in the evening, so I have my children at home, right? So they
Yeah.
would be understandable. And I think it is great that we are really pushing for that as females. We really want to bring this diversity to the table. So
Mm-hmm.
companies do want to showcase their, female managers and various
Yeah.
speaking panels, etc. This change will not happen if we do not push for it.
Absolutely. So extending this thought a little further. So in terms of work-life balance, and we talked about pandemic and sustaining throughout pandemic, and now having kids. What are some of the habits that you practice every now and then to uphold a manageable work-life balance?
Well, I think it's important to have a supportive partner. So, or
Yeah.
especially in my case, I live in a foreign country, so I don't have my family here. Or it's
Mm-hmm.
important to have like a nanny, for example, if one has children, to really find time for these
Yeah.
individual needs, like to meet friends, or someone maybe likes to go to gym, or
Mm-hmm.
go hiking. But
Yeah.
it is very important to take time for oneself, because also there's the saying, if a plane crashes, the mother needs to put oxygen mask first. So we first
Yeah.
need to feel good to be able to transition this message to our children. But I wouldn't say that this perfect balance exists. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say I am
I mean, again, we're all
fine.
humans, right? It's
Yeah.
kind of like a hit and trial thing. We try things, we see the outcomes, we practice implementing the positive outcomes in our lives, the ones that have positive outcomes, so that we can strike that balance and we can find time for our profession and our family. So, Gabby, now that we are reaching to the end of our conversation, just few thoughts before we close off. Now that you have dependence on you. So, in your opinion, and having worked in the tech sector, what is the future that you envision for your kids?
Wow. I think there will be even more various devices that they will be born into, and that this
Mm-hmm.
human connection will be even harder to establish, right? Also, I live in Sweden, so it's a cashless society. You can
Yeah.
buy clothes online, and then you go to pick them up to the store. There's not even a human. You go and, like, you
Yeah.
enter the pin code, and then it pops up.
Yeah.
But I think it is interesting because also we are pushing, striving so much for sustainability, right? So
Mm-hmm.
maybe that might impact somehow, because we will realize afterwards, how do we utilize all these
Mm-hmm.
devices? Are we able to recycle them? All these, like,
Yeah.
electric cars, what do we do? Like,
Yeah.
so I think, there are various people who have it as their jobs to predict this, future and etc.
Yeah.
But I mean, for my girls, I just really strive for the moment that they have the core values, and that they are
Yeah.
happy with what they
Yeah.
do. And I hope that the amount of devices they have will not define their happiness.
Of course, definitely.
Yeah.
So we'll finish off with this one thought, Gabby, in your journey and your experiences. Do you think there's anything that you would have done differently?
Hmm. Uh, well, I often wonder how would it have been if I would have studied journalism, right? Because then I would
Mm-hmm.
have stayed in my country. I would have been maybe working
Yeah.
for a magazine in my own country, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I do not like to think about, what could have happened. I try to think more about the future and how to impact them. So I think I'm very fortunate, with what I have, the life I've created. So
Yeah.
I don't think I would have done anything differently.
So, on that thought, Gabia, will close off the conversation. Thank you so much once again for being here with us and having a very meaningful conversation. As far as our audience are concerned, do like, share, and subscribe to show your support. And if you like the content, please feel free to share it with your friends and family. And until the next episode rolls out, do check us out on the other streaming platforms. And this is your host, Osama, signing off, and see you soon. Bye.